Hello, people. I am Jaby KOAY, joined by Hannah Harvey, Dry Lips Harvey. Just kidding.
Oh my gosh! No, you can start again. Start again. I'm forgetting my lip gloss.
I'm just messing with you because you kept like picking at your lips. I'm like, you're fine.
It's the weather.
You're fine.
Can we please start this
We're gonna
again?
go.
Can we please start this
as I chapstick my lips.
Oh no! Wait. Time out.
This is what
Time
people like.
out.
They like it raw and genuine.
Can we have a chapstick lip gloss break?
This is the opening of the video. Go ahead, get your chapstick. Oh, they're waiting.
Well, we could do this at the same time. Like this could be like honestly like the chapstick lip gloss break.
Okay.
Yeah, Bill.
All right. If this is the thing, I guess we can go for it. I don't know why I'm looking at the camera. It's
Yeah,
not
it's not like it's a mirror.
That's the mirror right there.
Yeah, yours is good. Mine good.
There we go.
Okay.
Making kissy faces at each other. I like that. It's a good way to start the day. Hello, people. I am Jaby KOAY, joined by Hannah Harvey. Totally chapstick up. Chapsticked. That's a joke that just failed hard. Okay. Engineering colleges. Moving on. Shitty rules. Stand-up comedy by Sorabh Pant. Sorabh Pant. What I do is I go through all the pronunciations and someone inevitably goes, "You said it right the first time." And I'm like, I don't remember what the first time was. I'm sure Sorabh Pant enjoys my mispronunciations of his name. So anyway, engineering colleges. Shitty rules. You are still in school right now.
I wouldn't say I'm still in school. I've decided to
Go back to
and to kindergarten. Yes, my mum made me after all the...
The building blocks. You just gotta put the thing in the donut on the stick. You're like, just still figuring this shit out. I can't get the order right for some reason.
Sometimes it's what it feels like. But no, I am actually taking some classes at school right now. You know, I'm not your traditionally aged school student.
You're 40, taking second grade classes.
14. I am actually the oldest person in my class.
Oh, that's the worst.
Yeah, and I do get hit on by 18-year-olds.
That's the worst. Getting hit on by 18-year-olds. I'm just kidding. It's like I'm talking as if that happens to me all the time. Actually, it does.
Is it? Oh!
It does. People Instagram message me going, "I want to marry you." I'm like, "Well, thank you," and I send a heart back. I'm like, "Well, thank you." I don't know what to say. Here in the States, you usually say hello first.
I generally think that it's part of college life to be able to interact with the opposite sex and all the genders and all that stuff because it makes you a rounded person. A lot of Indian colleges, they don't think that. गुना होता है man woman का तो खुद जो है करने का plus गुना है गुना. They have crazy rules, man. There's a college which I don't want to name the college, but it's Engineering Institute in Vellore. Obviously, nobody knows what I'm talking about. So they had, it's a co-ed college, but they had a circular passed out to all the students and all the faculty and all the parents and shit like that, where they said girls and boys are not allowed to touch each other. They can only do handshakes. Who shakes anyone's hand in college? I was surrounded by some really cool women. One girl was literally, she's like, "Hey, let's chest bump." I'm like, this is the... ये हम दोनों की जीत है. This is... Who shakes hands? But the intention, the idea of this entire rule was to say that there shouldn't be any physical intimacy between boys and girls. I'm like, there's a flaw in your plan. Because there's a lot of stuff you can do with a shaking hand. That would satisfy either gender. Crazy, stupid rules, man. One of my favorite stories, and this is I discovered later on. This is a truth in a lot of colleges. A lot of them, they have this concept called a PDA guard. A PDA guard, which is a public display of affection guard.
I thought that's what it stood for.
Which is really the creepiest job I've ever heard of in my life. Just a guy roaming around, jumping out of trees, saying, "Yes, chunega nahi! Yeah, chulega nahi!" So this guy, the PDA guard, one of the things that he does, and this is a YouTube video of this, where if a couple is seen doing this crime of touching each other, he whistles at them. That's Eve teasing, you see. That's fucking sexual harassment, like that's worse. One college, what they did was, the PDA guard, what he would do was that he was told to give a couple 3 strikes. First time couple touch, they're like, yellow card.
It's like soccer.
Second time couple touches, red card. Third time couple touches, he'll call their parents. And really, I think that would improve the World Cup of football immensely. Like, hey, Hurricane, क्या कर रहा है Hurricane? Hey, तू मेसी को छुआ? ये ले yellow card वापस नहीं करने का Hurricane वापस क्या Hurricane? Red card वापस नहीं करने का Hurricane वापस क्या Hurricane? हाँ मिसेस केन आपका बेटा बड़ा छू रहा है यहाँ पर. We are expelling him from the World Cup mainly because England has no chance.
Oh shit.
Oh.
It's coming home. No, he's coming home. Fuck that. हाँ, पैनामा को हराया, जीत लिया, वाह. वो कंट्री है कि कनाल. Go fuck yourself. Fuck you.
I don't get that joke. You'll have to explain it to me afterwards.
I'm recording this set before the World Cup ends. I'm waiting for like England fans saying, "Oh, टकला कब झूठ बोला." These colleges would be like completely unnerved by a gay couple. That's the loophole. If you're gay, you will have a ball. Because these guys can't comprehend straight relationships like girl on girl and guy on guy. They're like, क्या हो गया? क्या हो रहा है? They wouldn't even understand. They're like, ये दोनों बच्चे बड़े करीब हैं एक दूसरे के. कल मैं देखा मतलब wrestling कर रहे थे हमारे. अजीब सा wrestling है हमारे अमित और नरेंद्र मतलब. पूरा अमितेश और नरेंद्र नाथ पूरा नाम.
He just reminded me of something. If you guys are huge MMA fans, you probably don't want to hear what I'm about to say. I was invited to a thing in Las Vegas by my ex, so I went with my best friend at the time who was gay. We were watching the MMA match. We're only like several seats from the octagon. They're caught in a bind with each other, right? As they're trying to choke each other out. And my friend goes, "Yeah, this is pretty much how gay sex looks." I was like, why did you have to say that? You done ruined the whole sport for me now. Now I can't watch it. It's never gonna be the same. When he said the thing about the wrestling, that's what it reminded me of.
When he started this and he was saying about men and women in school, I actually went to an all-girls school.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Growing up.
See, every guy goes, "That's amazing." How many girlfriends did you have? Or did you experiment? Was an experimental situation happening? Like, that's the first thing a guy's brain goes to. Anyway,
Well,
continue.
that's good to know.
Yeah.
But
Achara was telling me about like an all-girls school, like how there's so many all-girls schools, and how in Thailand a lot of girls experiment because it's an all-girls school, and I'm like, really?
Well, that was not the same experience for me.
Oh, don't say that, please.
I'm sorry. I know, I just ruined your dream there.
No, it's because your mom's watching. That's the only reason you're saying that.
The school I went to, the all-girls school, there was an all-boys school up the street. It was so close that they would kind of run over on their lunch break. And the rules that we had in school, like what he was saying here, that, you know, the girls and the boys are not allowed to touch. The word that they used in my school was that we were not allowed to fraternize with the opposite sex. That was our rule. So all the guys from the boys' school down the street would run down at lunchtime and like after school, but we were not allowed to fraternize with the opposite sex, which I think is kind of interesting because, you know, we could have chosen to go to a mixed school, but
co-ed, yeah,
to a co-ed, but instead, you know, well, probably our parents made us go to these ones thinking that it would
protect
us
from the wily ways of men.
you know, it's funny though, for me, it definitely had the opposite effect. Not while I was in school.
Do tell.
But, okay, here goes. So in England, when you get to age 16, well, when I got to age 16 back then, you could actually leave school or you could go on to something called sixth form college, which was 2 years, age 16 to 18. So when my all-girls school finished at the age of 16, I went to a co-ed sixth form. And I got there and I was like, boys? At the end of that 2 years, I really should not be admitting this, I had 57% attendance. In 2 years, I think I probably had like 3 boyfriends. Because for that kind of first, I mean, we had the boys' school down the street, but for the age of 11 or 12 till 16, we were stuck in that rule of no fraternizing.
Right.
And then as soon as we all got exposed to it, we were like, oh, we never turned up for school. Like, we found boys and then they would, encourage us like, oh, skip school and things like this. I was like, sure, okay.
Yeah, it's also new. It sounds more risque than I think you mean it to sound. Because it sounds like you guys were just like off, doing the sideways polka the whole time. But what you mean is you guys were just kind of like you were playing what's it called?
We're well behaved.
You're just like messing around, like kind of ditching class. Is all you guys were really doing.
Yeah, because we were so intrigued at this point. We were like, wow, like we've spent the last 4 or 5 years not fraternizing with each other in school time, and then suddenly they were there and they were kind of a bad influence on us, and we were skipping school and skipping classes. It's funny that how the rules are so similar in, I'm gonna get his name wrong, Mr. Pant.
Yes.
I'm gonna call him Mr.
Sorabh Pant. Yeah.
Sorabh Pant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
when you close off your kid from things, when you isolate them from the world, it just hits them harder when they're finally exposed to it. For me, like, my parents didn't educate me on anything about intimacy growing up, so I had to learn it firsthand, and it's like, you learn what you learn when it's like that. It's just kind of raw and weird and experimental. But like for me, like if I have a kid, I'm going to educate them on all that stuff as early as they're ready for, as early as I can, because this way they're prepared for it and it's not just like awkward. If I was your parent, I would have, one of them, I would have said, boys are going to be aggressive towards you, so watch out for that. And you would have been better prepared for it, but you weren't. Trying to suppress kids is the worst thing you can do. It's better to expose them and try to educate them so that they can make an informed decision as to how they feel about it. Because the whole point of having a child, traditionally, going back a million years, is to just keep the population going. Like, that's the whole point of procreation, is to keep the DNA going. But as it has evolved, the point is to raise adults. You're creating well-rounded adults. That's the point. And so to shelter them, that's the word I've been looking for. To shelter them, you're harming their chances at becoming a well-rounded adult, and you're making it actually harder and slowing down the process, in my opinion, my uninformed estimation. I mean, I have a little bit of experience to go off of, but I think the more you inform your child, the better their chances are at succeeding in the world.
A lot of them, they have this concept called a PDA guard. A PDA guard, which is a public display of affection guard.
I think this is hilarious. The PDA police is...
The PDA guard, yeah.
That's so stupid. Just like looking out for people. Even the shaking hands thing, like at what point does someone have to step in? If we're shaking hands, right? And we're just like, we just keep going. Like,
come this way
exactly.
Come that way
like when does the guard step in and go, seems suspect,
Right.
But yeah, you can do a lot with shaking hands, as Sorabh said.
But he said no touching. Shaking hands is touching.
Right, you're already breaking the rule.
So you're already breaking the rules. So to actually have a PDA guard, I wonder what the job requirements are for that. Like, what experience is necessary for a PDA guard?
I'm sure it's just an application you fill out. There's this opening, you do it. The chest bump thing, that's just a total like diversion from what we've been talking about, but that's a little bit weird to me. I'm like, wait, can girls chest bump? Like, I would think that would hurt if you chest bumped. I was told as a kid, it's like having 2 nuts on your chest.
Well, I wouldn't know what it's like to have nuts on my chest, but I can, get the idea. It hurts. I don't think I've ever chest pumped. Is that what they call it?
Yes, chest bumped.
Yeah,
chest pumped. At some point you'll chest pump, but
chest
bump.
Bumped.
Yeah.
Chest bumped. I'm not sure I've ever done that, so I can't really comment on how much it hurt, but I can't imagine it would be too much of a pleasant experience.
I don't imagine either. When I was 14, I had a best friend, she's lesbian, and her girlfriend and her would educate me a lot about things that most guys or boys at 14 years old wouldn't understand about the opposite sex or about relationships in general. That was how she told it to me, and I never forgot it. I don't know why it came up, but she was like, just try to imagine having 2 nuts on your chest. That's what it's like having boobs. Like, that's how sensitive it is.
Well, definitely when you're 14 as well, things are growing and changing and there's like growing pains. That would definitely be painful. I feel like now you just kind of get used to it.
Yeah.
I think that's a little different for a guy though. I don't think there's a point where you just get used to if you get like kicked in the nuts.
This is a very interesting direction this conversation has turned. So I had a friend in high school whose girlfriend had huge basketballs, and when they would ride on the bus would be shaking because it has bad shocks, bad suspension. She would have to hold herself because the shaking would hurt her.
Again, not something I can relate to because I was not blessed with basketballs, but basketball.
Blessed with tennis rackets.
Golf
No,
balls?
just kidding.
Maybe?
Golf balls.
Golf
No,
balls?
yeah, golf balls or.
But no, so many of my friends.
I'm trying to think of something not offensive that I could say, but it's like everything I'm thinking of is offensive, so I'm just not going to say anything.
I want to take offense. You know, living this many years with golf balls, a lot of my friends had that problem on the bus, and when they would drive over bumps, when they would run, you know, their back would hurt. You know, they're really not that great.
When women bitch about having big boobs, I'm like, oh my god, the problems you have.
No, but it's real. It's
Yeah.
a real thing.
Yeah.
Some of my friends have had reductions for like medical reasons. You know, their back and the pain and the.
Do some deadlifts, do some pull-ups, work that shit out. I guarantee you, number one, you're gonna have some muscle tone that you like. Number two, your boobs will reduce on their own because you're generating muscle growth and that's burning through the fat in your body. Don't get a breast reduction unless
Well,
they're like
that's-
unless they're like triple G, like hanging down by your
knee.
by your VVs. You know, I was trying to think of like a female version of pee-pee, like some VVs. You know.
I would be very interested to see if anyone actually took your advice and tried that and what the results were, because it's not a muscle, it's a tissue.
It'll shrink.
It's
Trust that. Trust. Like run. Like
just do anything.
Do the elliptical and do pull-ups and do rows. Do rows
Okay.
and then like.
Just do anything except get a reduction. That's what I think you're saying.
I mean, as a guy, it's a very sexist thing, but as a guy, you're like, please don't do that. Don't do that. Like,
Bad idea.
that's the worst thing you could possibly do. There's plenty of things that will. I don't want to say anymore.
Okay, wait.
Yeah, 'cause
Let's move on.
I'll get myself
Let's
in
move
trouble
on.
with my audience. Actually, that's more than one person has told me like how they hide it because they're embarrassed. I'm like, what are you embarrassed about? If I was like as endowed as I imagine Shaquille O'Neal is, I'd be wearing nothing but ballet pants all day long, every day. Just
Whoa.
like, hello,
I mean,
ladies, come. Because I'm sure that's how it works, right?
what? Yeah.
No one's gonna be afraid of that.
No, definitely not. I think you know, that would bring a lot of success.
I've heard of women getting freaked out, and they're like, "It's not all it's cracked up to be." Like, there's no such thing as too big. Like, back off, buddy. Don't put that near me. I've heard of women crying because they're so scared.
Crying. Who are these people that you know?
Oh gosh. You grow up in LA, you meet a lot of people from around the world. Anyways, you guys, thanks so much for hanging out. Thank you, Sorabh Pant, for allowing us to react to this. Be sure to check out Hannah Harvey on the social media. Subscribe if you haven't already. Check out our other reactions, reviews, and short films. I'm Jaby KOAY. This is
Hannah Harvey.
Peace out.